Hi everybody, I'm Tom Nockolds. I'm co-founder of Loco Home Retrofit here in Glasgow. I'm going to talk to you for a couple of minutes about our mission statement, which is making better retrofit more accessible to more people. So a little bit about me. I'm an Australian. I've been living in Scotland since 2019. My wife is Scottish. Glasgow's my new home. My story, very briefly, is that in 2013, I shifted my career from working in the corporate sector and I moved into community energy. And when I moved to Scotland in 2019, I was fortunate to be able to continue that career and ultimately, along with co-founder Chris Karras, established Loco Home Retrofit about 3 years ago. Today, we're a team of actually 6, but there's 5 faces on the page there. And we are first and foremost a climate change, climate action organization. That's our number one motivation, and that's why we exist. So in particular, we're here to tackle the 34% of Glasgow's carbon emissions that comes from our homes. That's from BEIS, the Westminster Department, operating under a different name these days. That diagram there, many of you will have seen. It's an expression of how much temperature is lost in a home after 5 hours. Obviously, less temperature lost after 5 hours, the better. And the UK, it fares very, very unfavorably with its neighbours. And yet we all know that new buildings are not the solution. 80% of the homes that will exist in 2050 have already been built. We cannot build our way out of this problem, and we certainly can't demolish and new build our way out of this. The only solution is retrofit. And we're an organization that's decided to lean in on this jargonistic term. We've got retrofit in our name. And so retrofit for us means fitting new energy efficiency measures and renewable heating into an existing building. And that means low carbon heating, probably a heat pump, insulation and ventilation. And the great news is that when we do this, it brings all these benefits. And we're very bought in on the idea that we need to have a whole building approach. We need to consider the whole building as a system, the needs of the occupants, and come up with a step-by-step plan for how we're going to bring that house to a much lower energy consuming household, much lower carbon emitting building, all while managing the risks that could be involved and ensuring that the homeowner's needs and they're catered for and they're adequately protected. Now, the way we talk about and think about retrofit is that we say that the challenge of retrofitting our homes is far more of a social challenge than it is a technical challenge. It is a technical challenge for sure, but the truth is that most of those technical problems solutions are already known, or if they're not known, we know how to answer them. However, on the other side, there's a lot that we don't know, such as how on earth are we going to convince private homeowners to do retrofit when we know that it's complicated, disruptive, and potentially quite expensive. And this occupies a lot of our time and a lot of our thoughts around how we can overcome those barriers. One thing we know is for sure is we need shared action, and Loco Home was set up as a cooperative for that reason. Fundamentally, we believe that governments are not going to take action unless there can be demonstrated pathways to achieve the things we need to achieve, and it's shown to be popular. But we need government action. And so we think there's a really important role for organizations like us to shine a light on the path ahead. And in particular, we think we need intermediaries to develop both the market and the demand on the householder side, and the supply chain for retrofit. And a bit of a shout out here to Carbon Co-op and People Powered Retrofit, really trying to replicate that in Glasgow as much as we can. So what do? Well, we do several things. We're a social enterprise, and we sell services to privately owned households. And mostly that means whole house planning. So we undertake assessments, we speak to the homeowner, we sit down with them around what they're looking for, and we come up with a step-by-step plan for moving forward in their retrofit journey and ultimately getting a heat pump if that's their goal. We're a member-based organization, and we firmly believe that there's a big role for us to play in building the knowledge and sharing with people the facts around what needs to be done, ranging from examples like the one on the left there, improving simple things like improving the efficiency of your boilers, right through to some really deeply technical questions. So we recently commissioned John Gilbert Architects to investigate the issue of whether or not it's safe from a moisture perspective to insulate behind lath and plaster in traditional buildings. And we've got the results of that, and we're hoping to share that soon. We have a vibrant members forum, and the membership, by the way, is open to both homeowners and suppliers. So the members forum has suppliers in there, and there's some really interesting, constructive conversations taking place in the forum. And I think there's a growing levels of understanding and trust happening as a result of that. We hold regular members meetings. We facilitate group meetings of all sorts, including neighborhood tours and just conversations. That top right-hand corner has Ethan, who came over from, I think he's going to be presenting after me, came over from Edinburgh for one of our meetings. And last thing I'll mention is we do a lot of open houses and case studies. So here's an example of a member who, before they were a Lochalsh member, did some substantial work in their home, including installing a heat pump. And we've done open homes for this household. And more recently, last weekend and the weekend before, we were doing a series of open homes in this house. Both of these houses are traditional, solid wall construction, and what we're creating is opportunities for people to come and see and hear what a heat pump actually looks like, speak to the homeowner, stand in their home with them, hear their story, and feel how comfortable their house is. So that's it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. I hope that's been some help. And yeah, I'm really keen on seeing community-based retrofit intermediaries appearing everywhere. And if you're thinking about starting one of those, feel free to contact me. We want to collaborate. We want to help. Thank you. Just a bit of bonus material here. I'm just going to explain this particular house, what they did. So as I mentioned, traditional solid wall construction. And before they started doing any work, they had minimal roof insulation, no wall or underfloor insulation, pretty old double glazed wooden sash windows, and gas boiler and a gas cooker, EPC D. And then with some support by Lochalsh, we gave them a whole house plan. This is what they did. They put in some extra roof insulation. That was overboarding in their room-in roof. So it wasn't particularly deep insulation. They replaced 2 windows and 3 Velux windows that were double glazing with single glazing, triple glazing. They installed an induction stove, installed an air source heat pump, disconnected their gas. So they're now 0 direct emissions household. And they got an EPC of D. It just goes to show you need to be really careful about giving too much weight to what an EPC rating means. It's not necessarily about carbon emission reductions. And there's a couple of pages from the home assessment that we did. Importantly, we did a room by room heat loss calculation. And that gave the household the confidence to be able to go and speak to heat pump installers, knowing that they weren't going to be, confused by anything the heat pump installer was saying. And this is the interim results. So overall energy consumption looking like it's way down on previous years. This is energy consumption on the left, total energy consumption measured in kilowatt hours. And after the heat pumps installed, looks like they're going to be a lot lower on their overall energy consumption. Obviously, they've moved from gas to electric heating. So electricity is more expensive. Have their bills gone down? Well, it looks like they probably have. What we can say is that although they're on track to maybe having a higher bill this year than last year, the householder tells us that last year they actually had their house uncomfortably cold. And probably the most representative year is 2020-21. And they're actually saying their house is more comfortable than it's ever been, and their energy bills are probably going to be lower as a result.